Hello and welcome to the Billion Dollar Broker Podcast. My name is Ross Lacane. I'm bringing my 25 years industry experience together with leading experts around the globe to give you the insights on how to live a better life and grow a profitable mortgage broking business that you are proud of. Hey team, today I wanted to talk to you about mindset. Quite often I see people, and especially the successful people, they've got a mindset that is successful. And then on the other hand, I see brokers, and I speak to many brokers every week, who aren't achieving the results that they want. For them, they've got all the ingredients, they think they want it, but at the end of the day, the habits and what they're doing within their business day in, day out means that they're not pushing themselves. They're not changing their results because they're not getting out of their comfort zone. And there's many things that, we get trapped in, right? So whether it's the fear of sort of letting go, whether it's the fear of investing, whether it's the fear of rejection, or maybe it's they just don't have the skills because they don't have the habit of doing the right things and educating themselves and seeking out the right mentors within their business to be truly successful. Such an important topic because success has to happen internally before you can get it externally. So how much focus are you putting on getting your mindset right so you can get the results on externally? So Michael Jordan says, look, if you want to achieve great things, you've got to have that belief that you can achieve those great things first before it happens. So what I want to talk today about is some strategies on, one, let's identify some of those strategies of the top brokers and have a look at what are some of the things and share some stories about, what worked in our career and the brokers that I'm working with that are doing the 100 mil plus, and what are some common sort of mindset of these sort of superstar brokers, so you can sort of start to think, what are the areas that I can sort of work on in myself and change some of those things. So let's talk about the habits of a top broker, and then we can talk about ways where we can go about instilling these habits and what we really need to look at. If I start with number one is top brokers have a positive mindset. They are positive, even as things change, they either win or they learn. So there's Carol Dweck in the book Mindset talks about you either have a growth mindset, and by having a positive mindset, you have a growth mindset about you. So they take positive action, so the positive actions get to the positive results. There's plenty of negatives that we can focus on, and there's plenty of stresses in a mortgage broking business. We've got the stress of deadlines, we may have the stress of finances, we may have the stress of some clients, we may have staff stresses, we may have home life in terms of stress. So there's plenty of negatives that we could choose to focus on. Where top brokers choose to focus on having that growth mindset and focusing on the positives. And those focus on the positives leads them to doing the positive actions, which leads to the next point is they believe in themselves. They have that belief that no matter what happens, they're on a journey, that they're going to be successful. It's not a matter of how, it's a matter of when, right? So again, because they've got the eye on the prize, they are not wanting it, they are actually being it and doing the actions that it takes because they have that self-belief. The next point is they view their clients as peers, right? So whether they're sitting in front of the top real estate agent in the country or whether they're sitting in front of a client, these people, they're talking on a level, they're talking with confidence, and sales is really a transfer of energy. And because that confidence flows in their conversation, the clients will pick up on it. Whereas, some of the brokers that I've worked with, and we Had some brokers in our business, and I would have a conversation or do a role play with them, and I wouldn't take a loan from them because they don't exude that confidence, because they're not speaking peer to peer, right? So I think it's important that, you know, in your sales process and when you're talking and when you're interviewing referral partners, you're not going with putting your hand out. You're speaking peer to peer. Another trait of top brokers is they fail forward. Right? They learn from their mistakes, and they see mistakes in their business as an opportunity. And it's similar when they hire people, right? A lot of times when you hire a staff member, in terms of, yes, they're not going to do it as well as you. And, you know, one thing about learning is when you learn, you're going to make mistakes. And you've got to be okay with that and embrace that in your business and in your culture, that, hey, mistakes are going to happen, but we're going to meet on a regular basis and we're going to learn from these mistakes and we're going to grow together. And sort of understanding that in their business, because getting out of your comfort zone and trying new things is the formula to success. So yes, we're going to try a lot of stuff, and some of that stuff isn't going to work, but I'm either going to win or I'm going to learn. And so I think that's the next point that I want to highlight, is they learn from their mistake. The next thing is they work hard, right? And what I mean by working hard is they have daily disciplines and they're productive within their time at work. They have their time scheduled and structured, but they work on the right activities. And to give you an example of the right activities, so for me in my business, there was 3 areas that I wanted to focus on. One was the dollar productive activity. So that's your prospecting, it's meeting with clients, it's meeting with your referral partners. 2, it's working on developing better systems and processes. And 3, it's growing your team. And most top performers understand these and understand out of all the tasks, these are the 3 areas that are going to move the dial most for them within their business. Next is they're specific on what they need to achieve. Right? They understand what their goals are, and they understand that applications and settlements are just a result. Right? They'll understand how many leads do I need to generate a day, and they'll allocate the right amount of time and resources to help them achieve their goals, because they know that activity creates results. So if they focus on the activity, they're going to get the results. And when you break it down, most of you only need 1 or 2 leads a day in order to achieve the big goal that you want to achieve. Next thing top brokers do is they seek out mentors. They seek out people to help. So whether that's someone a couple of steps ahead in the journey, whether that's somebody like myself and they join one of the programs to keep them accountable, and you know the results and the performance that people who commit and show up in our programs is way above. A lot of my clients are having record months now, whereas some of the other people I speak to in the market have seen a dip to 20 or 30% in terms of what they did last year. So they seek out mentors, people that can accelerate their growth in the business. They also educate themselves. I did an intensive last week and we had a couple of guests. So I had Aaron Christie David and Ben Kingsley. And I'm always fascinated about how people develop themselves. And both of them had rituals, daily rituals, where they would educate themselves. They'd listen to books, they'd listen to podcasts. I know Aaron was doing a book club with his staff where they were taking a personal development book and working with that with the staff. And I thought that was a great idea. I think he was doing 7 habits at the time. So they educate themselves on a regular basis. So they practice who, not how. So they don't think, how am I going to get all this done? How am I going to get the admin? How am I going to get the loan processing done? They focus on who can I get to help me with this process. And they'll focus their energy on the things that is in their zone of genius. So who, not how, is the next point. The next thing you'll find with top brokers, the habit is they're heartfelt and they're passionate, right? They want to serve a bigger purpose than themselves. And it's that, heartfelt drive and passion that fuels what they do within their business. Next thing is they're not transactional, they're relational. They work to challenge and educate their clients in terms of creating new opportunities for business. Because they're curious and they take a broader view on the client's deeper needs. So whether that's creating a legacy for the family, whether it's financial freedom through property investment, whatever it is, they focus on the service and focus on the client first and the transaction second. For me, I would go through someone's goals, and that may be an income goal, maybe it's a 2 million net asset position, maybe it's $100,000 in passive income. And then we go through the goals, we clarify it down into the structure, we educate them in terms of what's possible. And the last thing that we talked about, and it wasn't even a thing, because we'd educated them on the value and the value that we provided in their service and that long-term vision in terms of what they want to create, the last thing that came up was rate. And I see too many brokers today where they're transactional and they're teaching their clients to shop them on one thing, and that one thing is rate. How can you get below the surface and offer more value to clients and really, have that deep relationship value rather than a transactional level? They schedule time is the next point, right? They schedule time, and especially time for the dollar productive activities. They schedule time in which they're available to do appointments, whether they use a calendar system or something like Calendly. They'll be available for certain times for certain activities. Having that structure and discipline in their day actually creates freedom. And if you can do this, you'll get way more done because you know what you've got on for that day. So there's some of the habits that some of the top brokers that I see have in the marketplace today. So if we sort of look at, well, what can you do, right? What can you do to really work on yourself and work on the areas within your business where you can grow? So again, I think you need to be aware, right? Awareness is the key, right? We all sort of jump in the car and, we may be chatting to someone and we get to our destination and we don't even realize how we got there, right? It was unconscious. We're driving our lives in an unconscious manner. And the problem when we're unconscious is, we have a negativity bias. So the unconscious tends to, stick to things maybe happened 2 years ago, maybe it happened when you were 5 years old, right? And sort of these subconscious will trigger these feelings and emotions, and then the thoughts will get amplified, and then it'll keep us stuck, right? And we will see ourselves falling down the same traps day in, day out, because we don't have the level of awareness in terms of what's stopping us, in terms of the unconscious habits that we've created within our business. So in order to provide and to create the habits in your life that a top broker does, what is your ways to create these habits? James Clear in his book, The Atomic Habits, mentions that, hey, we don't rise to our goals, we fall to the level of the systems. And when you look at the definition of what a habit is, and I've got a definition here that I'll read out to you. It's a routine behavior that is regular and tends to occur subconscious. So if we look at that, it's a routine, it's a behavior, it's repeated, and it acts subconsciously. So how can we, create new things within our business, within our life? How can we create new habits in our life and our business that are going to serve us, so they can perpetuate themselves, right? So we've got to, come up with a way of deciding what those new habits are, but installing those in the business. Robin Sharma in his 5 a.m. Club says there's 4 things that you need, right? You need a trigger. So maybe that's an alarm, maybe it's a beep on your phone, maybe that's a ritual, and we need a reward, right? So the trigger, we need a ritual. So that's the actual set of behaviors that you do day in, day out. You need the reward. So what's either the bigger reward that's going to bring, or maybe it's I do 50 minutes of calls and then I take 10 minutes and I'm going to treat myself with my favorite coffee. I'm going to go for a walk, get out, stretch the legs, get a coffee, and that's my reward for doing the behavior. And then what's the repetition? How often am I going to repeat it so it gets ingrained as a habit?
So the number one reason why I really wanted to share this particular podcast from Ross is he mentioned in the middle there, or maybe towards the beginning, about activity. Activity breeds results. This was told to me 20 years ago when I first started broking. Steve, if you do the activity, then the results will come, and results in our game is commissions. That's how it was put to me. And it's so true. And that is the difference between the successful brokers and the not so successful brokers, or the failed brokers, is the successful brokers do the activity. They focus on doing the daily activity that create habits, positive habits, and then the results come. You're not going to be successful in this game if you're not going to do the activity. And the activity means each day working on your business, working in your business, working on your business, doing the activities that takes to build a successful business, like networking, prospecting, building referral partners, speaking to clients, getting referrals from clients, doing all the basic Broker 101 stuff that I know all you guys know that this is what it takes. So I just love the fact that someone else has said the exact same thing. Activity breeds results. So this is why I'm big on, promoting doing that daily activity. So having a time planner, you need to create habits, get into good positive habits in doing this daily activity. A great way is using a time planner. So write out your day and say, right, I'm allocating, between 9 to 10 to do this activity, between 10 to 12 for this activity, and so forth. Now, I've shared my time planner, how I used to, do it. Every single day I'd be prospecting. Every single day. And it was that activity that brought the results. So, I was getting at some stage between 2 to 4 leads a day. At one stage, I was settling 1 loan a day. Obviously, loan size was much smaller then. Gee, I wish I was doing that now. So focus on, that daily activity. Daily activity breeds results. Also, he mentioned focus on lead gen. And this is something, once again, we see this, whether it's a characteristic or just a habit or whatever, we see the difference between successful brokers and not so successful brokers is the successful brokers don't get caught up on trying to understand credit, policy, processes across all the different lenders. They don't need to be, an expert across all fields. But what they focus on is lead generation. Some of the best brokers I know credit back to front, yet they make no money in this business. So it depends what you want out of this business. But the successful brokers that write a lot of loans, make a lot of money, that have changed their whole lives and their families' lives, focus on lead generation. Because that's really, at the end of the day, then they don't need to feel the pressure of converting 100%. If you're only getting 2 or 4 loans in each month, if you have 1 loan fall over, that hurts. But when you have 10, 20, 30 loans coming in a month and you have a handful fall over, you barely even notice it. So focus on lead gen, focus on the activity, focus on building positive habits. Also identifying negative habits. It's important because we all have positive and negative habits. And this is something I had to do, is identify my negative habits and then begin to change those habits. Be aware that I do have those negative habits. So, there's a lot of stuff about, for me anyway, I had to, coming from a concrete, I didn't have a sales background. I didn't have a lending background, banking background. I was a concreter. Every second word was F this, F that. And if you guys have been on a construction site, you'll know how tradies talk. That was me. So I had to do a lot of self-development. I had to work on myself. I had to identify my bad habits and be aware of them, and then implement positive habits and to remove a lot of those negative habits. And they don't happen overnight. It can be quite painful going through this self-development phase, and I had to do it. But if you build those positive habits, it's going to make a big difference on you as a person and in your business. He mentions also so the top brokers focus on client outcomes, or focus on the client's needs. I talk about this all the time. Focus on their needs, wants. I've forgotten it. What is it? Needs, wants, and desires. So focus on providing value and education. Needs, wants, and desires, all about value and education. And if you focus on that, then everything looks after itself. Referral partners happy, clients are happy. The referrals from your clients just start flowing in. You have sticky clients, which means they come back to you. They're not going to go elsewhere. Also, you have a better chance of creating advocates amongst your clients. So focusing on those client outcomes, focusing on providing their needs, wants, and desires. Find out what your clients' needs, wants, and desires are. Focus on what they value and provide that, and provide that education as well, because then you are looked upon as that expert, as that person that they're looking to for advice and guidance. And they need to know that you're there providing that value, that you're there providing their needs, wants, and desires, that you're not just there to sell them something. Okay. Something I mentioned at recent PD Day is read books, listen to audio books, listen to podcasts with motivational stuff, self-development stuff. A lot of brokers need to work on themselves first and build their character, build their just working on themselves and their personal development. I still do that to this day. Feeding your brain and mind with positive thoughts and positive energy and all that, having positive information, uplifting information, stuff that's going to get you out of your, comfort zone, or get you up and out of bed, if you want to put it that way, and doing those daily habits, doing those daily activities. When things go wrong, we all have bad days in this business. We all have things where you're fighting with solicitors, there's a shortage at settlement, and it's none of your fault, or client wants to blame you for this, or whatever it is. Clients, you guys know what it's like. You have your bad days. So being able to feed your brain and feed your mind with positive, uplifting things is very important. Also big on this. People think it's cheesy, but I don't care. It worked for me, and it worked for other successful brokers I know, and I just copied them. Is writing your goals out, sticking them on your mirror, sticking them on your visor, on the top part of your visor. So when you hop in the car, you pull your visor down, read your goals out loud, flick your visor up, and off you go. And then when you get to your destination, before you get out, flip them down, read them again, up you go. Read them in the mirror. The amount of times that you're in and out of your car that you can read your goals out loud. Look, you might think it's cheesy, whatever. Worked for me, and I know other successful brokers and other successful businessmen in other industries, very successful people that still do the same thing today. They are so goal orientated. And I'm talking people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars do this. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. And it's worked for me. So, reading your goals out multiple times a day is quite easy. And that was actually a strategy. One guy actually gave me that strategy is you stick it on the top part of your visor. So when you hop in the car, you flip it down, you read your goals out, takes you, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, flip it up, start your car, off you go. When you get to your destination, flip it down, read it again, And he said, you work out the amount of times you hop in and out of the car, you're going to read your goals over and over a lot, whatever he said. So having the right mindset is very, very important as a broker. Broking is a lonely game. Broking is up and down. It's like a roller coaster ride. Many of you have been around in broking for many years, can attest to that. It's not smooth sailing, that's for sure. So, having the right mindset, being positive, feeding your brain, focusing on the daily activity, those habits, and focusing on client outcomes, focusing on the needs, wants, and desires of your clients. That's I can't stress how important all this stuff is if you want to be a successful broker. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you next time.